just waiting for our last panelist, so we're going to start in around 2 minutes. Thank you. Two people here. You're here.
And then one here. כולם באו מהאום וכל מיני... במקרה, נראה לי, כן, במקרה. איפה אביבה?
הכל נכון, אבל אין.
אביבה בשירותים שלו. איפה היא בשירותים?
I asked them to bring the poster room. I don't carry them with me.
אביבה, אביבה, היא ליד ליאת? אביבה שאת מהצד השני פה. כאילו, פה ליאת יושבת, תשבי אחד ליד האחת. בדיוק.
אבל אין פה כמעט אנשים.
מה? אז תגידי שעברנו, כל אלה. אתה יודע מה אמרתי?
יכול לעמוד מאחוריי.
איפה המוסלמים פה?
יש שם אחד שיושב בשולחן.
כן, השחור.
מה?
השולחן
אין פה
פה.
כמעט אנשים.
אין סממנים, בלי סממנים.
אני רק אמרו לי להתעכב.
Do you know where your husband's going to be sitting?
אני גיסטני את התיק שלו.
Okay, we wanted to welcome everybody. My name is Matthew Hiltzik. Been working closely with the Nutra family and others who have, as they've been going through this 241 days of unspeakable challenges and the tragedies that we've been facing since October 7th. We're really very honored and pleased to have many of the hostage families here with us today. And our goal is to try to use this next period of time that we have everyone to try to raise awareness of all the hostages. This week in the Torah portion that we read in synagogue is the beginning of the book of Numbers. And the portion seems very boring because it just is about counting. It's about who leaders are, where they traveled, what the numbers are. And I think the theme of what we're trying to accomplish today is that every single person counts. Every person who has been taken hostage, regardless of their background, regardless of where and how and the circumstances. We want to be able to make sure to help the families share their stories and talk about their loved ones. We're very fortunate that we have members of different communities and faith-based communities here, and a very strong representation from our Muslim friends here in New York City and the leaders here who are stepping up and speaking out and helping to raise awareness, both with our community, in the Jewish community, as well as the Christian community, as well as so many other faiths of people who were taken hostage then. And there's lack of awareness and education and understanding. And so our hope for today is that the families being able to speak and tell stories about their loved ones and about the circumstances will be able to have people realize that this is something that affects so many of us together and will hopefully help towards building bridges going forward. The quick run through of how this is going to work, I'm going to introduce Rabbi Menachem Kreder from the UJA momentarily. He is going to moderate a discussion with the family members and those who have been through and survived since October 7th. Our panelists, he will everyone will have a chance to introduce themselves. For the media, we will have detailed lists of all the participants so you can have that information. We'll then have an opportunity after they speak for some of our leaders in the community to be able to say a few words and followed at the end by a brief prayers for the hostages and for everyone together. And we will then, because there is another event in this room, we will have the opportunity for people to speak one-on-one, be able to do additional media in a room. We have 2 rooms downstairs on the 6th floor. So I apologize in advance if we are rushing people at the end or asking you to move downstairs, but we're very grateful for the UJA being able to accommodate us and being able to do this. We know this is they do a lot of great things here, trying to support a lot of causes around the city, and we know that today is a challenging day for everyone. We want to be as supportive as possible. So Rabbi Kreder, if you could please come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Hi, everyone. It's an honor at UJA to be here, and I don't want to take any time with my words. Our role here is to be witness and to amplify the lives of human beings, family members, who are ours. They are all ours, all of us. We are one mishpacha, we are one family. Behind that sign, behind the drop-down, it says, one who saves a life saves the entire world. That is in the Holy Quran, and that is in the Holy Torah, and it is in the Christian Bible. We share that core belief. And so our goal here is to bear enough witness to save one and all. So that's our job, to save our family. And so I have only 6 names, and there are 7 of you. So inadvertently, okay, everyone counts. Okay, so what I'd like to ask you to do, to bless us with what your name is and who your loved one is. Tell us something about them. And we might have time for a second question to tell you in advance what it is what do we need to know? What do you believe we need to know? So I'm going to introduce everyone at once, and then if you'll take turns, and our hearts are with you. With us is Jonathan Dekel-Chen, the father of Sagi Dekel-Chen, Orna Nutra, the mother of Omer Nutra, Salem al-Atrash, who's the brother of Muhammad al-Atrash, Shaban al-Said is the father of Hisham, Liat Karin Unger is the cousin of Omer Shem Tov, and Aviva Siegel herself returned from captivity. Bless you. Bless you. And her husband, Keith Siegel, is still in captivity, and bless him. Please, friends, our hearts and our ears are yours. If you could each just take your turn, and we'd love you to share just a little bit about your loved ones.
Can you all hear me as is? Yes? Okay. Well, thank you to the UJA for hosting this, but mostly for those interfaith leaders who are here. My son, 35-year-old son Sagi, was taken hostage. My 35-year-old son Sagi was taken hostage on October 7th. He is now the father of 3 little girls. Speaking of numbers, let me give you a few numbers from Kibbutz Nir Oz. On October 7th, 79 of our people were taken hostage. We now know that 51 were murdered on October 7th. 35 of our people are still being held hostage by Hamas among the 125 total hostages. In Israel and I think around the world, what we have witnessed since October 7th is the unleashing of hatred. And I can think, especially on a day like today, where of the 5 Israelis who were pronounced dead, 4 of them are from my kibbutz. People who I have known for 40 years, if not more. Blood brothers, and I guess blood children. We can focus on the hatred. I don't think that gets us very far. Clearly the world around us, in Israel and beyond, seems to want to inflame those hatreds from all sides. I can think of no better answer today, in this time, at least for me, of enormous pain. Also not knowing if my son is still alive. I can think of no better answer than this kind of multi-faith gathering where we try somehow to move beyond that pain and beyond that hatred. I think the pain is probably a big order, but certainly along the hatred side. I'll only add that among the first people to offer us help, the surviving community of Nir Oz, were our friends and neighbors from the Bedouin communities around the Negev. And they have stayed together with us since that time. So I'm completely aware of that power. Religion doesn't separate us, hatred does. So thank you all for being here, and I hope we have a helpful talk moving forward.
So my son is a New Yorker. He was born here in the city 1 month after 9/11. I was actually working in this building on 9/11 and remember myself walking with him in my belly over the Queensboro Bridge, not believing that this kind of heinous attack could happen here on New York, on American soil. He grew up here on Long Island, and to some extent, although, you know, maybe contradicting myself, we saw this hate here back then too, but still, I think the overall climate, and maybe it has changed since then, unfortunately, and not for the best, was of tolerance. He grew up removed from a lot of the conflicts that he might have grown up with if we lived in Israel. But I think to some extent he was very sheltered from that. When he turned 18, he was accepted to college here. We have a big family in Israel. We're dual citizens of Israel and the United States. And he took a gap year and he went to visit Israel. And getting to know the country and the family, he felt that he wanted to serve in the Israeli army and to do his share in protecting the country. And on October 7th, he was positioned in a post right next to Nir Oz, which is Jonathan's kibbutz, and heard many stories about that area of the country. And unfortunately, some of the people that were declared deceased and murdered today, heard about them from him as well. He knew them personally. This is very personal for him, his role there. And on October 7th, as a soldier, he was positioned there to protect the kibbutz. Unfortunately, only part of a very small force, which was not prepared for the attack of October 7th. He was a first responder to the border, and his team and his tank were attacked, and his teammates were taken. 2 of them were murdered on that day. Their bodies were taken into Gaza, and him and another team member whose father and brother are here together with us also today are believed to be held by Hamas to this day. We hope that they're still alive. We have not received any sign of life about Omer since he was taken. And of course, it's of great concern, and the news today is very disheartening. And so that's just a little bit about Omer. Of course, you know, we too are people that believe that communication is key, and discussion, and we really, really hope we feel that the world has become dominated by extremes, and we really need to hear more of the moderate voices on all sides. The silent moderation needs to speak up a lot louder. Thank you.
שלום, אני الأطرش סالם, אח של محمد الأطرش. שלום, אני מדבר סالם, אח של محمد الأطرش, חטוף בעזה, בדואי מוסלמי, יש לו 13 ילדים, יש לו 2 נשים, יצא לעבודה קרוב לנחל עוז וחטפו אותו, לא חזר עד היום, ואנחנו מתכוונים תעשו לחץ לשחרר את כולם, אח שלי וכל החטופים. מוסלם, לא יודע מה להגיד לכם, רוצה אותו יחזור. תודה.
So my name is Sam. I'm the brother of Muhammad El-Tarash. He was kidnapped on October 7th. He has 13 children waiting for him back home. He has 2 wives. On the day of October 7th, he went to work near Kibbutz Nahal Oz, where he was taken from. He has his grandma and his kids and everyone else waiting for him back home. He's a Bedouin and Muslim from the Bedouin community in the Negev. And I just want to ask for everyone here who has influence to help and do everything they can to get him back home, him and all the other hostages.
ולפני נחטף כמה ימים, בא לו בת חודש, בקושי ראה אותה, ואחר כך נחטף. זה קשה. עכשיו, אולי קרוב הגיל 10 חודשים, 9 חודשים. לא יודע מה, ואמא כל פעם שואלת, איפה בן שלי, איפה, ואני אומר, חוזר, הוא טוב, טוב, והיא לא יודעת כלום. היא פעם אני חוזר לבית, היא מסתכלת עליי, אתה באת? חושבת אני, זה אח שלי. ואבא שלי בקושי, הגע לקופת חולים, גם תפס, גם הלכנו בגלל הלב שלו, בקושי. ישב בקופת חולים 10 ימים. וכולם כאן מחכים, לכל אחד מחכה למשפחה שלו. זה קשה, יש ילדים גיל שנה גם שם, גם גיל 80 שנה. זה בחיים לא ראיתי דבר כזה. כן, ויש.
So Muhammad has a daughter, and when he was kidnapped, she was 1 month old, and she is almost 10 months old now, and she has no idea who her father is. She doesn't know who he is. She doesn't know him. And my mother, she misses him terribly. She asks me where he is every day. Every time I come home, she asks me, did you come back? Because she thinks that I am him. And my father has been not doing well. He had a heart condition and he was hospitalized for 10 days because this is too much for them. They can't bear it for too long. Everyone here who have a loved one who is held hostage in Gaza are terribly missing them. And there is a 1-year-old, 1.5 now, who has been held hostage. And there is also an 80-year-old who is now held hostage. And these are all family members of people here who are there for 8 months now, and we miss them terribly.
גם אני מבקש לכולם, לא רק בגלל אח שלי מוסלם, נגיד רק לבקש את אח שלי. רוצה כולם, אם זה כולם, לא רק אח שלי. אנחנו כולם אחים. תודה.
So I'm not just asking to get my brother back who is a Muslim. I want to get everyone back. We are all brothers and sisters, and they should all come back home to their families. Thank you.
רציתי לדעת, החבר'ה האלה מוסלמים. السلام عليكم. يعني التعارف من السنة واحنا ناس مسلمين اخواني في الله بدنا نتعرف عليكم في الاول. אני רוצה לעשות היכרות כי זה ככה זה המצווה של האסלאם.
He said he wanted to get to know them and say hi and welcome because this is what Islam is all about.
شعبان السيد من الدير السبع من اسرائيل عرب مسلمين بدو يميت اهلا وسهلا حياك الله بس من اي بلاد انت؟ هلا شيخ هلا هلا اخونا بالله كيف حالك؟ ايش الاسم؟ موسى يا ميت اهلا وسهلا السلام عليكم. هلا جزائري طبعا. هلا كيف حالك؟
السلام عليكم كيف الحال؟
هلا
السلام.
يعني التعارف.
ايش كيف؟ محمد امين.
هلا بيك.
اهلا بيك.
هلا من اي منطقه يعني ما البلاد يعني؟
اصلي مصري بس عايش هنا انا ضابط هنا.
يا ميت اهلا وسهلا اهلا وسهلا. كلنا اخوان في الله. مش مهم انه بس احنا بنسال يعني. البدو دائما بيسالوا من وين انت من وين انت. يعني هيك يعني اليوم احنا نتعرف ان شاء الله على كل واحد على مشاكل الثاني. احنا الله خلقنا في اسرائيل. يعني تولدنا في اسرائيل، ابهاتنا تولدوا في اسرائيل. الناس عايشين في سكان 2 مليون عربي في اسرائيل حاملين الجنسيه الاسرائيليه.
كان شعبان
بيفهم.
شعبان אם תדבר עברית היא יכולה לתרגם אותך.
אני רוצה לדבר אליהם ישירות שיבינו ואחר כך. מה שאני ניסיתי לעשות על פי התורה של הנביא מוחמד, קודם כל מוסלמים צריכים להכיר לפני שמדברים, ללחוץ יד ולהחליף שמות.
So what I was trying to do is part of Islam and what the Prophet Muhammad has said is that when Muslims and talking to each other, they need to get to know each other. They need to know their names before they speak to one another, to have this human basic respect of getting to know one another. And that's what I was trying to do.
אחרי שאנחנו הכרנו, אז כל אחד יציג את עצמו. אני מציג את עצמי כשעבן אל-סייד, משפחת אל-סייד שהיא גם שבט שחיים באזור הנגב, משפחה, שבט בדואי שהוא חי במדינת ישראל כל הזמן, נולדנו בישראל, תושבי ישראל, אין מה לעשות, נמצאים במדינת ישראל, ובואו נתחיל מפה.
So they all introduced themselves, and then I introduced myself that I am Shaban. I am also the father of Muhammad. I'm from a Bedouin community, Bedouin tribe in the Negev, a big tribe in the Negev. I was born in Israel. My family was born in Israel. My extended family was born in Israel. My brothers were born in Israel, and I've been living there all my life.
פשוט מה שרציתי להבין, אנחנו מדברים על קונפליקט בין עזה לישראל. פשוט הקונפליקט הזה, יש פה מישהו שהוא משתמש במילה הפרד ומשול, פרק תסד.
And when we talk about the Gaza-Israel conflict, there is an organization here who is trying to do divide and conquer, dividing the people.
ليش أنا حكيت زي هيك؟ لما أنا دبرتي كاخا؟ כי התושבים בנגב והתושבים בעזה זה אותו אזור, אותם תושבים, אותם משפחות, אותו קרבת משפחה. פשוט מאוד הגבולות הפוליטיים מפרידים. ויש מישהו שמנצל את זה בשביל להפריד בין העמים. אני לאט לאט אגיד את זה.
And the people of the Negev, the Bedouin in the Negev, and the people of Gaza are coming from the same roots. We are brothers to one another. It's the same people. And there is someone who is trying to separate those people from one another.
אז כשמדברים על קונפליקט בין ישראל, בין יהודים לעזה, בין ישראלים לעזה, אנחנו שומעים את זה בחדשות, אנחנו פשוט לא מבינים את זה. זה אנשים שאנחנו מדברים איתם בקשר טלפוני כל הזמן, וכשלא הייתה חמאס, היינו גם כל הזמן יושבים בעזה, יושנים בעזה, ועובדים כל הזמן בסחר, בעניינים פרטיים, בעניינים כלליים, אותו מקום. פשוט בחדשות כולם שומעים עכשיו עזה, ישראל, וזה לא נכון. חמאס משתמש בנו כקלף מיקוח לא לטובה.
So when we hear on the news that people are talking about Gaza and Israel, or Gaza and Jewish people in Israel, and we don't understand this because back then, before Hamas was in control, and we were talking to one another. We were working with one another in trade, in other business. And like I said before, we are brothers. We have been communicating. We have been with one another. And ever since Hamas has came to power, it has changed.
תסבלו אותי, יש לי סיפור טיפה ארוך, אני רוצה להסביר, אין לי סיפור שלי אישי, אני מספר את מה שיש בסביבה, מה כולם שומעים דברים שהם באמת לא נכונים.
So I want to tell you a story about, it's not exactly my story, but about what you hear, and that is not true.
כמו שאמרתי לכם, אנחנו חיים ביחד, אפשר לחיות ביחד, יש פה מישהו שמנצל את זה פשוט, ועושה מזה פוליטיקה ומשתמש בנו ובעם שלו כקלף מיקוח, והם לא רק קלף מיקוח, הם גם מתים, וזה חבל.
So as I've said before, we can live with one another. We have done so before, and in this equation there is an organization that is using its own people as leverage and is using us as leverage, and this is wrong, and they are using their own people, and unfortunately some of them are losing their lives because of it.
אנחנו פשוט נמשיך עם הקרבה החברתית והקרבה המשותפת בינינו לבין עזה, וזה לא יעזור לאף אחד להפוך אותנו לקלף מיקוח או שיהפוך אותנו לאויבים. אנחנו לא אויבים, פשוט אנחנו והעם העזתי אותו עם, ואנחנו חיים ביחד כל הזמן וחיינו ביחד ונמשיך לחיות ביחד, וכל מי שמשתמש בקונפליקט הזה לטובתו ומפריד בין העמים, זה פשוט חרם על פי האסלאם.
So we have been working together, we have been living together, and as I said before, we are brothers, we are coming from the same roots, from the same tribe, and people who are using us, organization who is using us as leverage to turn us to one another, to turn us into enemies, it wouldn't work. I'm sharing a culture and I'm sharing values with the people, with my brothers who live in Gaza, and the people who are using it as leverage is haram according to Islam.
כן, אני רוצה לספר על הבן שלי. הבן שלי פשוט חולה נפשית, היה לו סכיזופרניה, מרוב שהוא אהב את עזה, ובסביבה אצלנו יש מלא אנשים, יש להם קרבה בעזה, והוא שמע על עזה, רצה ללכת לעזה, ידע שזה אסור, אז הוא, מרוב שהוא אהב להגיע לעזה, הוא עבר לא חוקי, פשוט בגלל המחלה שלו, הוא עבר בצורה לא חוקית ב-2010, והם החזירו אותו. אבל ב-2015 פשוט החליטו להשתמש בו כקלף מיקוח נגד מדינת ישראל.
So my son, who is kidnapped in Gaza since 2015, he is mentally ill, he has mental illness. When he heard about Gaza and the people of Gaza, he wanted to get to know them, and he decided to illegally cross the border between Israel and Gaza. He did it the first time in 2010. Back then, after a few hours, he got back to Israel. He was released, and then he did it again in 2015. And he has been held hostage in Gaza since. He has crossed the border again illegally because of his mental illness, and he has been held since.
מה שאני רציתי להגיד לאנשים שהמוסלמים ומבינים באסלאם, שהבן שלי חולה נפשית. חולה נפשית זה, יש אמירה של הנביא מוחמד שרופע القلم عن ثلاث, منهم النائم حتى يصحو, ومنهم المريض حتى المريض نفساني حتى يصح, ومنهم الطفل حتى يبلغ. يعني ابننا من الثلاثة اللي رفع عنهم القلم. فحماس قرروا انهم لا, بدنا نكتب عليه بالقلم ونستعمله كاستعمال سيء, وهيك ما بيقدر يحلوا القضية الفلسطينية على ظهر واحد زي هشام, يعني ولا مرة راح تنحل. מה שאני ניסיתי להגיד את מה שאמר הנביא מוחמד, שיש 3 לא נרשם עליהם עוונות. הילד עד שהוא נהיה מעל גיל 13, איך קוראים לזה? גיל גיל המצוות, והיושן עד שהוא מתעורר, היושן יכול לעשות דברים כשהוא יושן. וכמו הבן שלי, מי שחולה בצורה נפשית שהוא יכול לעשות הכל, יכול גם לרצוח, אבל המזל הבן שלי הוא לא רצח, לא כלום, הוא לא אלים, הוא פשוט בן אדם טוב, מה שאומרים לו הוא עושה, הוא לא אלים.
So what I was saying in Arabic is that there in Islam there are 3 rules, and my son who is mentally ill, those 3 rules are saying you would not harm a child until he is 13, you would not harm a person who is mentally ill or disabled, and you will not harm a person who is in a sleep. And my son, it also says that a person who is mentally ill is capable of doing things that he might not be aware of. But my son is a good person. He hasn't done anything wrong. He crossed the border to Gaza because of his mental illness.
אני מאוד מאוד מודה להם כי באו לשמוע, וזה טוב, טוב לשמוע מהצד השני. לשמוע רק מצד אחד זה לא טוב, צריך לשמוע את כל הצדדים, וככה מוסלמי יכול להחליט. מוסלמי בדרך כלל הולך רק על פי השריעה של הקוראן והסונה, ולא שום משהו אחר. הנביא מוחמד נתן בחג'ת الوداع 2 خليتكم فيكم القرآن وسنتي, וזה אומר שצריך כל הזמן לבדוק את האמת שאתה שומע מצד מסוים, צריך ללכת לבדוק את זה, אם זה אמת או לא.
And I want to thank you for being here and for listening to our side, to my side, to my story. And in Islam it says that, I mean, you listen to the laws of the Quran, and one of the rules is that you need to hear both sides and check both sides before you decide what the truth is. And a person who believes in Islam is always seeking the truth and want to know the truth. And to get to know the truth, you need to know both sides.
שוכרן לכם, ומי שיש לו שאלות אני מוכן לענות.
And thank you, and if you have any questions later on, I'll be here to answer them.
And friends, just before Liat begins, I want to let us know in advance, we're going to be moving in just a moment from this room to another so we can continue our work of prayer, our work of witness, our work of being family. But I'm going to use a little bit of rabbinic authority in this room because that's what I do here. And ask us not to leave just for a few moments because we gathered to hear testimony about family members, and there are more family members in this room that deserve to be heard. So let's use our time wisely and be as flexible as we can just for another few moments.
Good afternoon. I want to limit my time speaking because I think it's very important to hear from Aviva, but I will share that my cousin Omer Shem Tov was 20 years old when he was kidnapped. He was taken from the Nova Festival, marked his entry into adulthood 3 weeks into captivity. Without getting into too many gruesome details about the actual kidnapping, I will share a little snippet of a story that was told to us from his friend Itai Regev, who was kidnapped with him and held with him in Hamas captivity for 54 days. And I think it's relevant to share here that we have hope. And the thing that gives me hope is knowing the story that Omer with Itai managed to maintain his hope in captivity by rationing his food, by scraping the salt off his pretzel, by rationing his pita bread that he was given. By one time they were given grape juice, so he would pour the grape juice into the cup. They would recite the blessing of the Sabbath to bring the holiness and the hope within captivity, to remain positive, to remain strong. And they would ration the rest of the grape juice, pour it back into the bottle, seal it for the following week. And I think what's important as a takeaway from this is that it doesn't matter what faith you belong to. Faith in general is the thing that keeps us strong. And faith, no matter what faith you believe in, should cross all boundaries. And that's the faith that we should be fighting for. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.
So this is Keith. He turned 65 years old, and he's still there with all the hostages. I talk all over because I was there for 51 days, 7 weeks and 2 days. So I know what they're going through, and I know where they are, and I know who they're with. They're with people that pray to Allah, and then they want to kill us. They starve us, and they didn't give us food while they ate in front of us. We had to beg them for water. Beg. Even though we showed them an empty bottle that didn't have any water inside from yesterday. We were taken down 40 meters underneath the ground, and we thought we were going to die because we did not have any oxygen. And they didn't even stay with us because it wasn't easy to feel like you don't have any oxygen. We were just lying on the floor and trying to breathe. And I knew and felt that one more day, I'm going to die. And I remember thinking, what will happen if Keith, my husband, will die before me? And I'll have to watch him die. What happened on the 7th was beyond. I come from Kibbutz Kfar Aza. 63 people were murdered. There were 2 babies, 10 months old, left without their parents for more than 20 hours. There was a child that was 8 and his sister, 7, hid themselves in a cupboard while their mother was in front of them, dead. There was a family of 5 that hugged each other and were shot. People were burnt alive. And they were the terrorists that did that on the 7th. Our hostages are still there with the same people going through hell for 241 days. I ask myself what kind of world this is. And I want to ask everybody if that's the world we deserve. We don't. Every one of us needs to do everything we can for everybody in the world to have a life, to feel that they can drink water, to feel they can breathe, not to worry about simple things, just to enjoy life. Thank you.
Thank you. Friends, I'm going to use whatever kind of influence I have, especially to the media. We're going to move rooms, but we don't want to lose one of you. What I'd like to do is I'm going to station myself by the elevator just to pressure you to stay, because we need prayer now more than ever. And my brothers in faith, my sisters in faith, we know that none of what we are hearing represents any faith. This is a moment where we need all of us, whatever you believe, don't believe, just believe in each other. So as we move from room to room, please, everyone move with us. Don't leave anyone behind. That's what love demands right now. So I'm not saying thank you. I don't want us to think anything is done. I'm going to ask for guidance from my colleagues to show us where we're going. Please follow Annie, and we'll make our way so we can continue in prayer.
Yeah, so for the media, we're just going to hear from some of the leaders in the community, and then you'll have the chance to speak one-on-one with the folks who have spoken here.
So we're forbidden, like forbidden something that is changed, that's been done.
That's actually what it means in the
Yeah, but the way that it's being used in Hebrew right now, cherem is to like ask, like push someone outside or make him lonely. has a different meaning now between Arabic and Hebrew.
Thank you.